podcast? You can now find us on Patreon at the LunaPod, where you can show your support for the podcast for only $1 a month. Or for a little bit more, you can get early access and bonus episodes, contribute to our podcast segments, and receive exclusive video content as we film our reactions, reviews, and discover new K-pop groups. Head over to Patreon now to join the community. We can't wait to chat with you. It's your birthday! Yay! Streamers, balloons.
Hi, welcome to the LunaPod, where we talk all things K-pop. I'm Brooke.
And I'm Raquel. And today is a very special episode. It is Brooke's birthday special.
Yay! So my birthday is on the 11th. This is releasing... What day?
The 12th, the day after.
Okay, so the day after. I just got home. Anywho, this episode really has no direction whatsoever. Just whatever I wanted to talk about. Also, if I sound like I'm sick, it's because I kind of am. It's just allergies. I'm suffering. So, not the best episode to sound bad in, but my apologies.
It's fun. And we get to know about you and your hobbies and your interests.
Yeah.
So I'm excited.
So, I'm going to be taking us through my love at first sight moments,
Ooh.
my wrecker situation, and a current drama that I just finished and in love with.
Ooh, I'm excited.
So, my love at first sight moments. We have discussed this in big detail, at least with each other. I feel like we've briefly touched on it with the podcast, but I just need to not run over these idols. Just run over these idols real quick. Go over these idols and just kind of discuss who they are, why it was love at first sight, yada yada. So I'm starting with Kim Dong-hyuk, or DK, from iKON. This was probably, I kind of deem him on here as the blueprint for this category.
That's fair. I remember the exact moment this happened too.
We were watching Kingdom Legendary War, still have not finished.
Oops.
And I was just minding my own business, and I saw this guy walking. I was like, very attractive. Love what I'm seeing here. They performed. Loved what I was seeing here. And then it just there was a part where they were either in an interview or just talking to each other, and he was in this floral cardigan, and the rest is history.
I remember you quite literally gasped out loud. We paused. You backed it up, and you said, I have to look who this is right now. And then from that point on, yeah, it was a big moment. That was an immediate one.
I would say another person where I immediately found out who this person was. I immediately dove into everything about them is Do Hanse, who's from Victon or as a soloist. It was instantly I fell in love. I saw a photo of him. I think it might have been Pinterest or Twitter. I can't remember which one. And I sent the photo to my friend, and I was like, who is this? Do you know who this is? Please, I have to know. And it was the photo of him with his longer blonde hair, not the super long from solo work, but I don't know, classic mullet type.
Yeah. In
the blue shirt. If you look up a photo of him and you I think you'll recognize what I'm talking about if it pops up.
He's a very recognizable person in general. Yes. Yeah.
So I died there on the spot, and I was like, perfect. I dove into everything about the group and fell so hard for him and Victon, just all in one. And him and they as a group are kind of the gate that I'm keeping. I'm gatekeeping them. I love him and them so much. Mm-hmm. So thank you, Hanse's Beauty, for getting me into your group.
Yeah, and another shout out to Twitter/Pinterest for being the biggest.
Always.
What is that called when you're setting people up in a wedding or whatever? Not a hype person, but a wingman. A wingman of Twitter to Instagram.
And then I'm trying to think. I think this next one, I'm not really going in chronological order, but right now I think I am. So the next one is Kim Dong-hyuk from WeI.
Oh yeah.
This was the night where we were we have types. And
yes.
We didn't really, I feel every now and then we're this person's kind of similar, whenever we're comparing biases. But then this was the one where I'm oh my god. So we had we had a group photo of them all lined up because we were just trying to learn names and figure out what was going on.
Because I think I was already obsessed with Young at this point,
yes.
And so we were diving more into it.
Yes, mm-hmm. And so I was okay, let me see who I'm feeling. We just looked at one photo. And I said, him. And then you just died laughing because you're that is literally so your type.
And I was Changbin.
I was oops. And so, yeah, we have types. Love that for myself. But yeah, I looked at the lineup and I was well, crap. So now, oh my gosh.
Happy giggles.
Okay, so next is Yoon Jong-woo might know him from Boys Planet. He was previously in Black Level and now current member in One Pact. We were watching Boys Planet. Once again, just like, I'm trying to mind my own business, watch a survival show.
Mm-hmm. I'm seeing a theme here. Survival shows are dangerous.
They are. So don't watch them. Just kidding.
Immediate fall in love scenarios.
And so I saw him in the crowd and I thought, oh no. And then I saw him perform and I thought, this is the new me.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
And then, yeah, I love him so much. I fell so head over heels for him. I jumped from like stage 1 to 5 in the stages of grief, just right then and there. And we didn't even watch every single second of Boys Planet either. Like, we would kind of skim through like the prepping of the challenges, I'd say, or the missions.
We were mostly there for the performances.
Because we were in like late into the game and we wanted to go ahead and make an episode on it. So we kind of mainly just watched performances. But like, even the little bit I saw like of behind the scenes stuff, plus what we were seeing performance wise, how could I not fall in love? Are you kidding me? So talented. So I'm very, very, very excited for One Pact's debut, which is like, when you're hearing this, it already happened. When I'm recording this, it's happening in 6 hours.
John was giving you a birthday present. An
He really
birthday
is.
gift. They're debuting just in time.
Thank you.
It's so cute.
So that is my little spiel on Love at First Sight and like kind of like bias things. Now, my record issue. This
has been a hot topic of discussion recently.
Like very recently, and I don't like it. I don't
panic.
I've had my issues with records before. This isn't anything crazy to me. It's happened. But right now, I'm struggling a lot. So just keep in mind. See, the reason this makes me so nervous is that we will talk about this deeper in like a record episode eventually. But the reason this makes me so nervous is because 2 records that I've had previously turned into my biases for the group. And they are both currently my alt biases.
Yes.
So I feel like when I have a record, my brain is telling me, you're sure, you know what you're doing.
Yes.
I'm giving you the signals. Just change your mind already. Accept this. And I don't want to accept it. So my current issues are Do-young and Win-Win. Of course, they're both NCT members and it's freaking me out. So Do-young, I talked about this in our like NCT like concert review, and I love how in the episode I was like, in another lifetime I could be a Do-young girl. I'm like, are we in another lifetime?
Oh my god, did we time skip? Did time jump?
Honestly. But it's just weird because I was like, I've talked about this with my friend Andrea, and I'm like, I'm having issues, and she's like, it's okay to have 2 biases, like whatever. Like NCT's a big group. I'm like, don't condone this, but also help me. Like yes, but no, this is making me stressed.
Well, and the thing is too, if I remember correctly, tell me if I'm wrong. When you first started getting into NCT, Do-young caught your attention right from the beginning, right? Where you were like watching that video and you were like, oh yeah, this person, and then Andrea was like, that's
true,
Do-young.
that's true.
So is this secretly just your bias all along? And you
no! Oh my god! How dare you say Johnny? Johnny, I'm so sorry.
Oh, sorry, man.
But I see what you're saying. I see what you're saying. Because yes, I saw like some edit or just like a video clip of them performing Chain. And I was like, what? I was like, who is this? I'm like, they look good. And I literally said like the wrong member's name. I don't even remember which one I said. Like, Andrea, if you're listening to this episode, like, let me know if you remember who I thought it was. I might have literally thought it was like Jaehyun or Johnny maybe. It was Do-young. And I was like, oh! And I moved on.
Put that in the back of the brain where it's been sitting and sprouting and turned into a massive tree.
And so now here we are, and he's becoming more and more of an issue. And again, I'm not upset over the idea of having like 2 biases for a group. I literally have had and currently have groups that like I do that for. So that's not like the end of the world. So I don't really know like what my holdup is.
It's exactly what you said earlier, I can guarantee.
So, I don't know. I don't think I'd fully switch just because I love Johnny literally so much. Like, I feel like I'm usually good at telling, like, if I do have a record, it's, like, becoming a big issue, if I would be able to, like, fully ditch that person, or, like, you know what I mean?
You just have to add them
like,
in.
Yes, like, I can usually sense, and I feel like this one would be, like, an adding, so I feel like I would be double biased for 127. So, like, again, I don't know why I'm not claiming this right now. I have, like, if you would have asked me last week, I'd be like, yeah. So I don't know.
If
something's brewing.
Something's brewing, yeah.
So anyway, we're going to move on because I can't.
Stay tuned for next week because maybe we'll have more information.
So probably my biggest current issue is Win-Win. I'm so in love with him, and I'm having an what? I can't even speak. He's making me speechless. What is it? Existential crisis, y'all.
Yes.
Because I can't. My problem is that I decided to watch his Kdrama in the middle of this record issue that is not helping at all. But again, like I heard already said, like Johnny was my 127 bias, but Tin is my wavy bias, and just overall my first K-pop biases in general whenever getting into like everything is like Johnny, Tin, and like BTS's RM. And I've already left one of them.
Right, that's true. That's true. But this is also like, I wonder if this has something. Let me psychoanalyze you right now. It's like we're in therapy.
Okay.
These are like your roots of K-pop. So, and like you've already let go of one, so if you let go of more, that's
right?
kind of hard. I get it.
I know, like it's really hard. It feels so weird. It feels like again, they don't care. I'm not fully abandoning someone, but you know, you get like an attachment to a bias, and then you're like, oh crap. So I don't know. So whereas with 127, I would be like double biasing. Ew, I want to throw up just saying this. Unfortunately, with wavy, it would feel like a transfer, which sucks like so bad. I hate the idea of that because I love Tin so much. Literally, like one of my first biases ever. So I don't know. That just makes me very sad. But I'm not like officially saying it right now. But we will see.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of like the RM situation. Like you were RM biased and then changed to Yoongi, and now it's an old bias. So it's like it's kind of the. It might be hard to make that initial step, but then like you'll eventually come to peace with it. But honestly, doing that whole like switch thing, it makes a lot of sense. Like I understand. It's like you just know. Like if it is like truly a switch or not. I get it.
So we will see what comes to be. B2B.
B2B.
What is B2B?
What is B2B?
Peniel?
I feel like NCT is like the hub of wreckers.
Oh, it is. There's a billion of them.
Yes. And I feel like they're just intense as well. I don't know. That's just my personal opinion.
So I'm struggling, but I refuse to make any official announcements on my birthday.
Yeah, no. You know what?
So we'll see.
Buy whatever you want. All of them.
Honestly. So speaking of my birthday plans, nobody cares, but you're going to hear them. So I'm visiting home. I'm surprising my mom. She doesn't know I'm coming home, and I'm very excited. My dad has everything all planned out. He's like, I'm going to pick you up. I'm going to tell her I'm going and helping a friend, and then she's going to be out with her friend eating lunch, and we're going to meet there, and you're going to eat lunch with her and surprise her.
It's so cute.
And I'm like, oh, I'm ready.
So adorable.
So like we've been trying to make sure like nobody says anything. So I'm very excited. So I'll be doing that, and I'll be home for like a week and a half, like a hot minute. And then speaking of NCT, this isn't going to help my current issue. NCT Nation is happening, and it's in theaters. And so I'm taking my dad. I was going to take my mom, but like circumstance, she ain't going to be able to make it. So I'm basically going to force him to choose a bias after the movie. And I'm going to point out who my favorites are. And
it's just the most iconic thing, taking your dad to see NCT on the big screen, seeing Love Talk, seeing Baggy Jeans.
Well, that was the issue. I was like, oh my gosh, we were just watching like NCT Nation videos like on YouTube, and I was like, crap. I was like, I totally forgot Love Talk. Not that it existed, but that it was part of this, and I'm gonna have to sit there beside him in the movie theaters, beside his citizens who are like freaking out over this, and I'm gonna have to sit there and pretend like I don't care. Like, not that I don't care, but like, to that song, I gotta behave.
Right, yeah. We got dad in the building.
Literally.
Are you taking your Neobong? You just got it, right?
I'm probably not, just because I'm already gonna be there for a while, and I don't have like a huge suitcase. I just have like my little carry-on one. So I don't have the room for that, but in spirit, I'll be waving it around.
Yes. Well, and it's so pretty. I'm so happy. You
so
got
pretty.
2 new light sticks recently. You also got zero base ones like light ring.
Yes, that I saw they had it in the stores like later that week. I went and got it, and I was afraid they wouldn't have it anymore, but they did. So I had to get that, and then I got the NCT one for my birthday. So an early birthday present. But
yay!
Sorry,
sidetrack there, but light sticks are important.
Yes, they are very important. Another thing is I kind of do it every year. It's not even like purposeful at all. Like my mom and I just happen to go to this like very specific shopping center every year, and it's not even fun. Like during Christmas or birthday, just like whenever I'm home, like very randomly.
Yeah,
we'll go like basically once a year because it's not like the normal shopping center. I don't know how to explain that, but I like this center, and they have a nothing but cake around there.
Ooh,
and so I always go on my birthday because you get a free cake.
Yay!
So I'm definitely doing that. Oh, and then of course we're doing a birthday dinner, and my mom keeps joking. We're like, oh, like, you're not going to be home on your birthday. We'll eat dinner for you. And I'm like, rude. Little does she know, I'm there. I'm going to be eating dinner with her. And she's like, we'll FaceTime you when we're eating your birthday dinner. I'm like, I'm going to be right there.
Tee-hee, yeah.
We're going to take a small break and remind you that if you're enjoying this episode so far, make sure to follow the podcast and turn on notifications to make sure you never miss an upload in the future. And if you'd like to show some love, feel free to give us a rating as well. We'd really appreciate it. The segment this week is BM's Tip of the Week.
As it should be.
And for that, the tip is, hello, you can take your light sticks into Disney parks.
Oh
what?
My gosh. We were so worried about this.
We were very paranoid.
Yes, we were going in, we were making cute little Christmas content because she's right around the corner, and Christmas is right around the corner. That's what I meant by that. And we wanted to take like cute pictures with all the Christmas lights and stuff, and we wanted to bring our light sticks so badly to take cute pictures, and so we like shoved them in our bag and we were trying to be inconspicuous, and not really. We were just like, if they need us to take it out, we'll take it out. It's basically a bubble wand without the bubbles, right?
Seriously.
So, but anyway, it went right through security. They didn't care at all. So it was really cool. And then, oh my God, we had the cutest little experience. We were like really hoping that we brought our Lightini and our Mondungi light sticks, and we were high-key hoping that other stands would see us and come up because we wanted to talk to them. We really did. And unfortunately, we didn't actually get a ton, but there was one. It was a cast member at Disney, ran out of the street and was like, I saw you guys walking from down the street and I saw your light sticks and I had to come out and say hi. And we were like, oh my gosh. And she knew exactly like what light sticks they were, like for what groups. It was really sweet. But yeah, if you want to go take really cute photos with your light sticks,
take them to the fireworks show. We took ours to Fantasmic, but didn't actually end up using it. It was kind of drizzly, so
yeah. But regardless, really fun.
Okay, jumping back into this episode. This might be long. So, I'm going to be talking about a K-drama. It's called The Guest. It's not new. I think it came out 2018. So, if you haven't seen it, but it's on your list, or I start talking and you're like, wait, I don't want to hear this anymore. I want to watch it myself. You can just hop off the episode, 'cause this will be the last thing I'm talking about. So,
all spoilers.
Yeah, so spoilers ahead. I will literally go over the entire show right now. And before we get into this, I guess a little trigger warning, it is like a thriller horror drama, so there are a lot of darker topics with murder or suicide. So if those topics aren't good for you, thank you for joining us. This will be the last segment in the podcast, so join us next week. So first of all, it's been a long time since I've really watched a drama fully through. I have the horrible habit of getting into it and then completely ditching it. A lot of times it just feels like a big task because it might not be a lot of episodes technically. Like I feel like a lot are like 16 episodes, but they feel so long.
When you have to like dedicate so much time and attention to it, like even if they're shorter episodes, you have to be paying attention. You know? So
I have to read my subtitles, so like it's a bigger task. So this is probably the first one I've seen like in a hot minute fully through, but I was really excited because this was like one of the first like thriller types that I was watching, and I realized like after the first episode I'm like, this guy looks familiar. It's the main guy from Her Private Life.
Oh,
so he's in it.
We need to finish that still.
Yes,
too.
Again, us not finishing shows.
Yeah.
And overall, like, in general, we're not, like, a drama podcast. There's plenty out there, but we definitely would like to kind of randomly have episodes maybe where the drama itself is about, like, an idol type thing. Like, kind of like private life itself. Like, that was fan related. Mm-hmm. And then, like, if an idol acted in it, like, I feel like that'd be fun. Yeah. But yeah, by no means, this isn't, like, a new thing we're starting.
No, we're just talking to you about our interests.
Yes. So, The Guest. The backstory is this village has an urban legend of the guest, where this spirit comes to this village, possesses someone, they kill people, and they hurt themselves, you know?
Yeah.
So that's kind of the whole premise of like what is happening. So there's this kid, he gets possessed, and two priests come to perform an exorcism.
As they should. Yes. Classic.
Oh, before this exorcism happens, look, I'm already messing up.
Oh, no.
I already gotta backtrack. Before this exorcism, so he questionably kills his mother, and his grandmother cannot bear that anymore, so she leaves us. So his mom is like, Hua Pyung, where are you? Like chasing after him. And then he like looks at her, and then she's like, we find out she's dead. So like,
Ooh, so like a
questionably
ghost or
kills
something.
her. Yes. And then grandma hears about this. That's her daughter. So she can't bear that anymore. So she commits suicide. And so now it looks as if these 2 deaths in the family are all because of him and being possessed and all this stuff.
Oh, okay.
Yes. And then
At this point, does it seem like he's possessed?
oh yes.
Okay.
This is like a whole thing like this village like believes in. It's kind of like there's a lot of shamans in this village, and it was kind of like a prevalent thing, like something is up with this kid.
Okay.
And so they have 2 priests that perform an exorcism. One of them gets an attachment, and then
As in like an attachment of a...
yes. So now he's possessed.
Oh, okay.
Okay. I'm trying to remember.
It's moving around like
Yeah, she's hopping.
venom.
Yes.
Yeah, got it.
And so I feel like I'm kind of going over some things here. And then I do a good plot thing, and then I deeply go into these characters and their names. So some of this might be repetitive, but that's fine. And so that priest now goes to his home and tries to kill his family.
Because now he's got demon brain.
Yes. Demon brain is on, and he didn't realize his brother was home. And so his brother's like hiding in the bedroom. So while that's happening, this previously possessed boy was like, oh, this priest told me I could go to him for help, and my dad just tried to kill me because he thought I was still possessed. So that's a whole other thing. So he goes to this guy's house, but he's currently killing his family, but he does not know this.
Oh.
And so he's just standing at the edge of the street, and he's like, what do I do? And so this lady drives up to the house, and she's like, why is this kid standing at the end of the road? Like, what is happening? And she's like, something's weird. And so she gets out of the car, and she goes and checks it. And she gets the little brother out of the house. And so that all the kids are out. She had her daughter in the car. This is a ramble. And I feel like this is not making any sense. And nobody's following the story. But please try to follow. Yeah. It'll get better.
Well, because there's a bunch of different like scenarios happening. We have the original kid whose mom and grandma died.
Yes.
And he had the original like possession.
He was originally
and
possessed.
then you have this. It was the priest
Yes.
who comes in, gets it, is now in his house because he's got the demon ick, and he's going and he has killed some of his family.
Yes.
Woman drives up, separate characters. So this is like plot 3.
Yes.
Woman drives up, sees the kid, the original possessed kid, not doing okay, goes, saves the priest's
brother.
Kids. Yeah, the brother.
Yes.
Pulls him out.
So now she's in there, she dies.
The woman that is driving.
Yes.
Oh my god.
She's a cop, she was trying to save the day.
Oh, sad.
And so she dies, and now it's just like these 3 kids like, what's going on? We're orphans. So for the overall plot, the guest is the urban legend of Park Il-do, who is coming back years after a traumatic night that linked these 3 kids together. The boy who was previously possessed, the boy whose possessed priest brother caused him to be an orphan, and the girl whose cop mom stopped to save the day. Years later, now adults, they reconnect, not knowing that they are who they are.
So
they don't
that
know.
was just like a prequel setup.
Yes.
Thing. Oh.
And there's one thing that they have in common, which is this quote-unquote guest demon, Park Il-do. And so for the names, we have Hwa Pyong. He is the previously possessed kid. He is kind of like a medium from this shaman village. We have Choyun or Matthew, which throughout this entire thing, I very much switch up what I prefer to call him as, whether it's like Yoon or Matthew. Kind of depends on how I'm feeling him. And if I'm like feeling very protective and like sweet about him, he's called Matthew. So it kind of just depends. But he is the brother of the priest from Hwa Pyong's possession, and he is now a priest trying to get answers and find his brother and save him. He wanted to know how to do exorcisms to perform it on his brother eventually if he could find him.
Because his brother's still alive?
Well, his
with
brother,
this
like,
demon?
he never saw him again.
Oh.
Because Hwa Pyong saw him out in the field just staring at him, and like, that was it.
Oh.
So we haven't heard of him since.
Okay.
And then we have Kil-young. She's the daughter of the cop who stopped and died to save Yoon's life. And she's now a cop, again, trying to, like, very similarly, trying to get answers and solve her mom's cold case. So you kind of have, like, 2 stories going in at once where you're, like, there's a lot of possession stuff happening, and then a side story of murder, like, cold case.
Oh, that's so interesting. Yeah.
And so we have Hwa Pyong's grandpa, and then we have Yo Kwang. He's like the shaman from that village. Detective Ko, Kil-young's partner. Father Yang, he is the other priest from Hwa Pyong's exorcism.
Okay.
So it was Matthew's brother.
And this guy.
And he's also like Matthew's like mentor now, basically.
Oh, okay.
And kind of like, I guess, director of like a Hands of Sharing thing, like a charity type thing. And we have Hongju. She is like an assemblywoman. She volunteers at this Hands of Sharing thing. And she is Kil-young's mom's suspect in that 20-year-old murder case.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So she's just like weirdly tied to all of this. She's
yes,
like
she has like her hands in everything.
Okay.
Her hands are sharing in all this trouble. So Assemblywoman Hongju, she's a freaking issue. She's being questioned about being Park Il-do and the suspect for the murder case, like 2 in 1. She's being the suspect for both of these things now. They think she's the one that's possessed.
Interesting. Okay.
She's horrible human being anyway.
I even from the little bits I have heard right now, yeah, sounds like it.
So she does go, so what is weird is she does go to church and she says yes and to believe in God, denouncing the devil, but she was like kind of hesitant when Matthew was asking her, and she didn't shake Matthew's hand when he had like the rosary there, and kind of gave like a smug reaction, like I know what you're trying to do.
Okay.
And she walked away. So that's very suspicious, and it like, I feel like that gave us some answers, but then made us question more. So why do they think she's Park Il-do? So she murdered a student.
Oh.
So she murdered a student, but that was the cold case from years ago.
Okay.
Basically, they know it's her, but she's in such a higher position with being an assemblywoman, it's hard to come after her. And so they think whenever she disposed the body in the woods, she came in contact with Matthew's brother.
Oh. Okay.
Because, plot twist, his brother's not alive.
That doesn't surprise me.
He was found dead in the woods. So
so yeah, no, it's totally on her now.
Yeah. So like they think that's when they met, and that's when this demon transferred to her. And everyone who has been like any sort of like witness or could have said anything against her with that cold case, dead.
Great.
Not like all at once, but like sporadically throughout the show, like people are dying.
That makes it a little bit hard to solve.
Right? And whenever she's confronted about Park Il-do, she has no reaction and then accepts the blessed cross from Matthew. So now she can touch this. And we're like, what is happening?
Why is she being so sketchy?
How is she not Park Il-do?
Right.
So how can this be? So Father Young informed Matthew that there's such a thing called full possession, where they have total control over the body, soul, and they can go to church. Then there's not an effect by the cross, holy water, Bible, all that. So you're like, okay, so like we don't know what's happening. Like, how are we supposed to know who this person is? And so they decided to perform like a little test, I guess. And so Matthew took Soyeon, who is this little girl who was possessed recently, also a medium, fun.
Oh, okay.
She was really sweet, and also just like shout out to her in general. She was an amazing little actress. I don't remember how old she was, but she was younger. She did great.
Yeah.
And she met Hongju, and they were very curious, like, the person you see attached with her, is that Park Il-do, or, like, what do you see beside her, basically? And she saw that dead student. So, like, that is, like, so confirmed, like, that's the thing.
Yeah.
But she didn't see Park Il-do.
Whoa.
So it's not her.
But the dead student's right there.
Yeah, the dead student, there.
That's one problem solved.
Literally. But she goes to meet someone in this sketchy tunnel, and she meets with Park Il-do in the tunnel.
Wait, the kid? Wait,
No. The assemblywoman. Oh. Not the child, sorry.
Oh, okay.
The assemblywoman goes to meet Park Il-do in this sketchy tunnel, and she's like asking for another favor. She's like, those 3 are bothersome. The Hwa-pyung, Matthew, and Kil-young.
Yeah,
yes.
OG3.
The OG3.
The gang, yes.
So she might not be Park Il-do, but there's definitely a connection. And through investigation throughout the show, they discover Park Il-do is her like great uncle.
What?
Yeah. So she's literally like connected in every way.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. When she was talking to him, are we talking about like in spirit form, or is he currently possessing someone?
No, like spirit. Like you can see like what he, but every time in the show when you like quote unquote see him like as his like himself, it's very like weird. It's either like this big dark mist in the corner, or like you'll get flashes of him. Like it'll kind of like strobe us for a little bit.
Okay.
It's really creepy. But overall, she, like, her as a whole, she's not Park Il-do. She's freaking crazy, though. Like, if you watch Kakagori, I might be saying her name wrong, but Madari, the one with the eye patch, the exact same vibe, which, like, a lot of those characters are crazy. Like, but that is how crazy she is.
Great.
And overall with this show, I was initially nervous about the pacing because a lot of times it was very much like, we have a possession, all 3 of us are together, and we do an exorcism, back and forth. But it really wasn't at all, because they did a really good job in like every case that they had with these possessions. There might be like some kind of like other little case that Kil-young's working on that like either like links up to it, but she's like helping in a different way than they are. And all those characters are very different in like their backgrounds, so it was still really fun. So my favorites were Sooyeon, the younger girl, and then later on Detective Ko, Kil-young's partner, gets possessed. That had me so emotional. I was an emotional wreck. It was just like so much was happening there.
Yeah.
A lot.
I love that there's like so many stories, because again it keeps you interested, but it's all connected to it's like feeding the bigger story.
Yes, exactly. So Alert! Big news. Park Yo-do never entered Matthew's brother. Just a little minion. Just a little minion demon.
It wasn't even the big demon?
No, and he was that crazy. So, and I'm leaving things out because I can't go through everything, but Hwa Pyung's dad did run into Matthew in these woods. And he told him, run away from your son. Park Il-do is still in your home. He said that before he died. And so that's the reason his dad, like, apparently tried to kill him when he was, like, previously possessed. And that's the whole reason that Hwa Pyung ran away from home. All these things are, like, connecting and, like, linking him to this freaking house. And so there were 3 people other than Matthew's brother at this exorcism. It was Father Young, his dad, and his grandpa. Dad says he was the one who told him, like, there was just, like, so, I don't know how many times I was told that somebody else told him to choke him. You know what I mean? So, like, it was really ridiculous on, like, how many times I was being told, like, why his dad tried to kill him, or, like, how. But then he's like, Grandpa told me to take you out. And Hwa Pyung's like, what are you talking about? But then Grandpa says he was never there, that he was visiting a relative. So whoever is lying is Park Il-do, basically. Brings us to our suspects. So we have Grandpa and Dad. So Grandpa, he's just been, like, taking the bus to other locations. Yeah, he's never done that a day in his life. Like, he's always been, like, staying at home all the time. And there was, like, just, I don't know how to explain, like, how the fact that he's, like, traveling is sus, but it is.
Well, no, I mean, that
like,
kind
he
of
just
sounds
does
sus.
not, he literally does not do that. Yet he's been, like, constantly traveling to other places. And, like, some of them are, like, linking up with these other locations. But we find out he was doing that because he was secretly looking for his son the entire time. His dad. Because he's, like, he basically stays at home, like, waiting for his freaking family to come back, basically.
It's so sad.
But then, like, very weirdly, Hwa Pyung's dad gets possessed after accepting a phone call and tries to attack Hwa Pyung. And he ends up killing some other man. But then he, like, snaps out of it when he sees a wedding ring, like, his wedding ring. And then he's like, stay away, Hwa Pyung. I'm not trying to hurt you. I gotta go. And so...
interesting.
Yes. So he's dead. Okay, so what's happening? Let's go back to who was in the house again. 2 are dead. Matthew's brother and Dad. 1 is in a coma. It's Grandpa.
Okay.
I jumped, but
Long story short, yes.
But Grandpa's in a coma. And then 2 left. Father Yang, Hwa Pyung, if it never left him and he doesn't know. Yes.
The chills that I just got down my arms.
So, Father Young and Hwa Pyung. So Father Young is heavily trying to convince Matthew it's Hwa Pyung because the shaman lady did a suppression ritual on Hwa Pyung as a child. So Park Il-do's, like, possibly still within him and just kind of like, suppressed. Yeah. Yes. And he has been having issues with his right eye. That's, like, a whole thing in the show. Like, if you can't see out of your right eye because you stab yourself in the eye, that's how you end everything.
It's a demon get out.
Yes. So that's, like, with him, that's a thing. And he gets his visions. So he is a medium, but during all these, like, other little possessions that have been happening, kind of, like, right before the kill, he, like, sees what's happening. So it's very weird, and I don't know, he just keeps getting a reaction over the fact that, like, Park Il-do exists, and he, like, sees him for a second, his nose is bleeding, so he's very nervous that, like, what if it is me? Like, is this just been inside me this whole time? I did not know.
But also part of me is like, Father Young's probably like
what is happening?
Really trying to get this off his back.
I'm like, why is he being so pushy? Mm-hmm. So Yoon told Yu Kwang, that shaman, that he suspects Hwa Pyung, but he's like, wait for me, like, don't do anything crazy, like, we'll go and, like, investigate things together. He doesn't listen, so Yoon just goes over and, like, ruins his relationship with Hwa Pyung and just interrogates him on the spot and just basically, like, spouts all these, like, prayer things and, like, trying to throw holy water on him and, like, push him to the ground. And, like, they're, like, wrestling basically and, like, putting his rosary on his forehead, just all of these things.
Oh my gosh.
And so, like, Hwa Pyung's like, are you kidding me? Like, he's, like, so pissed off because, like, at this point, like, this whole trio is, like, very iconic. It's an awkward trio. It's a weird mix. Like, they would never be friends outside of this whole situation, but they've, like, grown weirdly close, you know? And so, like, what are you doing? This is not a good move. No. So Hwa Pyung's, like, fighting for, like, Yang. It's Yang who you trust so much, but Matthew will not freaking believe this because once his family died, like, he was right there for him and, like, he took him in basically and kind of, not, like, adopted him, but, like, essentially. And so now at this one point, when Detective Ko was in the hospital, he had a visitor before becoming possessed where like you didn't see the person, but you kind of heard like heels click on the ground. And so I'm like, okay, like the only people that like could have those kind of shoes, it would be either Hongju, that assembly woman. I'm like, was that a derail where you were telling me she wasn't Ildo? Like, are we going back to this? Or Father Yang with his little business shoes, you know? Little priest business, priest shoes.
Priest shoes, yes. Very clicky.
His little church shoes. And so Young Kwang goes investigating himself. He's like, okay, you're off here ruining your relationship with Hua Pyong. I'm gonna go back to this house because he can't get like, he's still in the house out of his head. And he was digging in the backyard. Like,
as one does.
Very weirdly though. He was like, what's up with this spot? And so he's digging. And then like, as that's happening, he like sees Park Ildo, like I guess like just that big figure. Like you can just like, it's more of like at this point like an energy thing, and he's like getting not tossed in the air, but he's levitating and he's getting choked up basically. And so Matthew's like, okay, do I have to really look into this one person that I've been trusting my whole life? And so he goes to see Young at the church. They're like, he's away. He's not here right now. And so he's like, okay, should I really snoop right now? Yes. And so he snoops and he opens his Bible and it's all scribbled out. It's all black. Yeah. And then at the house, Young Kwang was attacked and he ended up dying, unfortunately. Love him. I'm not putting enough respect on this man's name. I love this character. He's really funny. I love him. Very sweet. But of course, he dies like right before he can tell Hua Pyong who it is. It's like, it is.
Of course.
Always. Pan up, Father Young.
Oh.
I'm so annoyed.
Ooh.
All these years.
Yes.
And so Matthew, so proud of you. So he went to the church service and Father Young like changed the verse. Instead of being like, he changed like dark instead of light. And then instead of saying like darkest of nights will not be dark to you, he said darkest of nights will swallow the world. Red flags galore.
But yeah, for real.
What? And so he like pushed up, being very dramatic, pushed up to the front of communion and like stared Father Young down. He was very attractive when he did that. And then he pushed past him and poured out the communion cup. He's like, isn't this just water? Like, blah, 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 like all this stuff. And then he's like, what was that psalm? Why did you change this? And like, he's like, why didn't you take communion? Because he didn't. He was pretending. And so he ended up being pulled away for like by other like priests / security people. And at this point, he just had teary eyes. He's like, how could you be Park Ildo? And I'm like, stop, I can't do this anymore. But now I'm mad because we're at a priest meeting and this is so messed up. And these priests are like, what's up? He's like, he's got a demon. And then shows his Bible for proof. Like, hello?
Yeah.
This is scribbles. Like, no. And he literally, Father Young, literally was like, did you do this, Matthew? Right? He said, why'd you do that? Have you become mentally unstable like Father Han? Because Father Han was a previous priest who was like into this exorcist stuff, and like I guess it does mess with your brain, and he like ended up
too much for him. Yeah.
Too much for him. And he died, committing suicide. And so now like Father Young's whole thing is like saying like after his death he's become obsessed with exercising, but like not on a treadmill. And it's just like stemming from like all this like devil stuff. And Matthew was like, liar, pants on fire, standing up, like causing a whole scene, but like deserved. And he's like, see, he's becoming erratic. His mind and body isn't his. I'm like, can you stop? You're like literally setting him up for like what? Like this is ridiculous. And then I'm just like, oh my gosh, because he says to him in front of all of these priests, he says, if you become madly fixated like Father Han was, just as you once were, you'll attempt suicide again. So there was a point where Matthew did when he was younger. And now he's like using this against him in front of all these priests, like a priest committing suicide. Like, you know, like it was a whole like thing. And I was like, are you kidding me? Mind you, I had downloaded this episode whenever I was traveling back. And so I'm like on the plane and that scene happened. I was about to scream on this plane. I literally had to pause it and like wait till I got home. I was like, I will scream on this plane today if I continue watching. But it just made me so mad. And like Matthew was like, I'm over this. Nobody's listening to me. What is happening? And so he goes over there, puts his little cross on his head, saying some prayers, and he seems so unbothered. He's literally just sitting there while he's doing this. And we're like, what? Exactly. But then, everyone's like, stop, what are you doing? Blah, blah, blah. Like, nothing's even happening. See? Pans to his hand. His hand's getting a little red. Like, he is technically being very, very, very slowly affected. Like, you can see. And then, like, once he was away, like, it went back to normal. So, like,
oh my gosh.
So it's literally, so police, help. Next.
What's her name?
Kill Young, help. So, this is so ridiculous. So, Park Il-do, aka Father Young, goes into Grandpa's hospital room. So he's in like his little coma. He goes into his hospital room and I'm like, hello, get out of there. Like, stay away from Grandpa. Like, please leave him alone. He's a sweet little angel. Like, what? And it looked like he was about to choke him out. But then he got a phone call because like Hongju killed someone. He had to go help.
Oh, okay.
Basically.
Just normal demon stuff.
Exactly. So Young ended up meeting Hongju's driver because he's the only other witness to this whole like murder thing and killed him like Park Il-do style. Like all this like dark smoke was coming around. It was wild. Ooh. And so Hwa Pyung comes to try to like save the day. Too late. But he's like beating on Father Young and asking about Park Il-do, entering him, but he's still like trying to gaslight him into thinking it never left him. And I'm like, what is happening?
No. Oh.
And so Matthew's sleeping like a little baby he is. I love him. And he wakes up to like slicing sound. I'm like, what is happening?
Ew.
And then he sees a creepy version of him in the corner, like everywhere. And then it ended up being like a dream. But then he wakes up and he has a little thing of glass in his hand. I'm like, what are you doing? Like, what is happening? And it's so scary. Mind you, during this whole time, he's going through some things. Because during one of his exorcisms, like, he got cursed. Ooh. They were like, you meet us one time, you're going to feel like knives are stabbing you. You meet us a second time, you're going to see those physical wounds and you're going to have cuts all over you. You see us a third time, your skin will rot. You're blah, blah, blah. You're dead. So, like, whoa, if he does a third exorcism with this whole Park Il-do thing, he's done for.
Oh my gosh.
Yes.
That
and
adds
like,
so much to, like, the whole...
Yes. And we're already, like, on step one because he's in so much pain. Like, internally, like, it feels like he's being stabbed. Wow. And so now he's having nightmares about this. I'm like, can we please give him a break? Oh. He's in priest jail right now. He's, like, in a little room where he has to be confined because they're, like, investigating all this stuff.
Right, because Father Young has gotten everyone's head.
A little jerk. Mm-hmm. So.
Big jerk.
Yes. So, Hwa Pyung's in the woods with Father Young, has him tied up, questioning him, blah, blah, blah. And he's like, hey, Matthew, help. And so he's like, okay, I'll be the one to perform this exorcism. I'm like, no, you're not. I'm not going to see you die tonight. I hate it. And just, he's heading towards the woods. And I'm like, the way you're making me feel in the scene makes me feel like this is the last time I'm seeing you. Oh. Stop. I'm going to sob. And so weird things were happening in this woods. Not really. I'm just making it feel like that. But what was happening was Father Young isn't Park Il-do ?
What?
Because
you're joking.
Yes. And he was talking to Hwa Pyung. He's like, do you really not know? Do you not remember? Like, blah, blah, like all this like saying like such weird things. And he's like, Father Young was like she finally arrives. I'm like, what are you talking about? Mm-hmm. Pans to the place Kil Young's at, and some like woman that was just dead is like now alive, possessed version. It's like Walking Dead in here now. What? But like possessed version, and like just to like distract him from like other stuff that's happening. Basically unrelated, but it relates to what I'm about to say. So yeah, Father Young isn't Park Il-do ? And he's making it seem like Hwa Pyung like doesn't remember things. He's like, do you really not remember like all these things? Like he keeps saying like think about it. He's saying a lot of things like you let your guard down. He's like, and you got distracted. And I'm like, is it someone close to him? Is it someone within this core 3 that he like is just so fixated on other people being Park Il-do that he let his guard down so much that it's someone right next to him?
Or is he gaslighting him again?
I don't
trying
know.
To get him to think
like
it's
that's
him.
The whole thing.
Yeah.
And so then he says he's here now. And I'm like, what? Because during this, Matthew was going to find him. And he's like, he's here now. And I'm like, and it shows a clip of like Matthew with his little briefcase thing, like walking in the woods. I'm like, no. I was like, no. Because when I tell you my heart dropped, it literally sank. Because I was like very close to tears. Because I'm like, if you're telling me Matthew is like secretly Park Il-do right now, I'm done. And I'm turning this off. And I was like, that would be a freaking plot twist.
Yeah.
But it wasn't.
Oh, thank God.
Thank God. So what was happening was he was just like, they were showing clips of him walking through the woods to make that seem that was maybe what was happening. But kind of like what happened with Kil Young where that dead woman came back. Yeah. That driver came back. So I was like, thank God. Oh. Because I did not need that in my life. That would have like literally torn me up. So grandpa update. He's disappeared. Young kidnapped him. He's been grandpa napped. He's been
what did he ever do? What's the
Nothing.
point? What is the point?
I'll get to the point.
Oh, okay.
Not right now though. I don't know. So Matthew was like, I'm so done with this. Like, why has he lied to me this whole time? Like, I need to investigate myself. Like, what is going on? So he told these other priest people, because he like escaped, he was like, Father Young is not in his right mind. Like, I gotta figure things out. And then one of them's like, so I've heard someone say that before, but we ignored it. I'm like, what? So like years and years ago, somebody had said this. And so he finds that person who had said that. And it was, I think, I think it was like kind of like an old partner of his, like kind of like, I don't know, they seem to work in like duos a lot of times when they do the exorcisms.
Yeah.
So whoever that was had like told him to stop doing exorcisms, but Young like just needed to continue. He needs to know the devil. I'm like, what? Because apparently one of his family members have been possessed before. Oh. So he was like, I need to like know this stuff.
Yeah. Okay.
And so his parents ended up dying when he was little, and his brother was adopted by another family.
The one that got killed? Or the one that was possessed originally?
No.
Who?
Father Young's parents, just in general.
Oh.
So Father Young's parents died when he was little, and him and his brother were adopted by like separate families, and they were just like saying like 20 years ago like he changed. And I'm like, 20 years ago? I'm like, that's when all this stuff with Hwa-Pyung was happening. Like, what?
Oh.
And so apparently, I feel like this like doesn't mean too much because I like skipped over some things, but he is the brother of Lee Sung-chul, who is the son of Lee Chol-young. Lee Chol-young was the very first person to be possessed by Park Il-do.
Oh.
So he's like connected.
Okay, interesting.
Yeah. So basically like his father was the first to be possessed, and Young said like these demons like will never give up on the soul he's chosen. So when Chol-young died, it went to Young. Basically is like what's happening.
Right.
And so at this point, if we're going off of that knowledge, that means Hwa-Pyung was never possessed in the first place. He's just a medium who sees things, and he was like reacting to what he was seeing.
Makes
so
sense.
People mistook him for being possessed. Isn't this ridiculous?
This is so dumb. Which was the whole cause of this entire series. Yeah.
So with the whole like end game of this, we have two outcomes: exorcism or death. So once the host body is dead, there's no way for them to exit. They can kind of like jump ship before, I guess. But the idea is to catch him, like have him come into you and take your own life so that Park Il-do will go with you. So like that's how you can like capture them. And Yo-kwang, the shaman, told Hwa-Pyung that there is like a ritual you can perform in order to trap him. And I'm like, you're kidding me. Is this what he's gonna do? Is this his plan? This whole time these three people are like chasing around this little demon guy.
Did he know?
And they were like trying to like figure things out and like perform all these exorcisms. Yet his whole plan like all along was to do this. Like that's just so upsetting. So it makes me sad for his friends. So Young was driving around with stolen grandpa. Ridiculous. He just like he ended up taking him to this nursing home of a friend's. Like his friend works at the nursing home or owns it, and Father Young's just like walking around and possesses everyone there.
Hello?
He like walks out into the hallway and everyone's like staring at him. There's this bright light behind him. I'm like, what is happening? What is happening?
Wait.
And so
So
it's like he's possessing everyone. I don't know.
How does he possess though? Because the demon's not in him.
Girl, I don't know, but it's
What's
happening.
Yeah.
Because he's probably gaslighting Hwa-Pyung. I don't know.
Okay.
I'm confused within my own description, but this is what's happening.
Yes.
So he's doing this thing. This is happening. And so that means whenever someone's possessed, they go and kill people. Well, he just possessed everyone in this building. So a lot of people have the potential of dying tonight. And so the guy who owns or like works at this nursing home, Yoon went to his house and was going to try to help. But like the second he did, he was so affected. He was like feeling all that pain and like the rotting whole thing, whatever, his curse, and just like ran from the house, kneeled over. His chest was like bruised and like literally looked disgusting. And meanwhile, Kil Young's in the house fending off these like possessed people. I'm like, give this woman a break. Give this woman a break. And then Matthew comes back, and so does Hwa-Pyung trying to help her. Matthew collapsed on the floor like he's out for the count right now. And during this time, like, Hwa-Pyung ends up telling Kil Young about the prophecy. So, like, she did not know. Okay. He was trying to keep it a secret, but I'm like, you need to tell people these things. Like, look at yourself. And he's like, I have my own way to stop Park Il-do. Like, we need to, like, no matter what, we need to stop Matthew from performing an exorcism. And he basically, like, tugged at her heartstrings and mine. Because he was like, Yoon is a precious life that your mother saved. Now you need to promise to save him, like protect him out. I'm like, stop it. I'm like, we're all like roughly the same age, but like I'm sobbing. It's like, it was adorable. Cute little moment. Could have died. So, showdown part 1.
Got it.
Matthew finally found Grandpa. He's locked in a room, so he's like safe.
Good.
Father Young, he's on the rooftop.
Okay.
And Matthew is struggling upon meeting him. And he's like, I'm going to try to perform this exorcism. He is struggling, like, so hard. Hwa-Pyung is trying to get him to enter him instead. Like, because they still are, like, you have to be Park Ildo. Like, the things you're doing, the things you're saying, like, doesn't make any sense.
Yeah.
And so he's like, enter me, because, like, hello, that's his plan, like, to finish this all. But then Father Yang's like, this is all part of the plan. Your destinies haven't changed. Among 2 of you will die. Today, 1 will die. I'm like, sorry.
No.
I can't handle that right now. And so Yang falls to his death from this rooftop. And all those who were previously just possessed are just like, they're fine now. So, like, that ended that.
So they went with Yang. Yeah, interesting. Okay.
Yeah, so it's like, kind of like one of those things where, like, I don't even know, like video games where, like, the big boss dies and the rest. Or just something like that. Like, it was very weird. But, and then...
It's like Vampire Diaries with the OG vampire. Yeah.
Yes, that's what's happening. So, Matthew, even though, like, this is very traumatizing to him, this is the man he looked up to, he was like, fine, I'll be down here for his final moments. And so, he was like, now I'm free, because he's basically been possessed by this thing for 20 years. Like, what? But, I will say, it felt like It Chapter 1. Like, the blissful feeling of the end of that, where you're like, oh, these kids are all safe, like, everything's fine. But, like, the inkling that, like, you know it's gonna come back around and, like, happen again. Like, because it's kind of what it made it feel like, was this just gonna be a whole cycle, and this whole thing's gonna happen again in, like, however many years.
Well, because I feel like just falling off a roof isn't gonna get rid of it. It's
yeah,
just gonna
like,
jump,
what is happening.
Right? Yeah.
And so Yoon went back to check on this previously possessed person, and he was like, at first, he was like, how do you feel about this? And, like, showed him the cross, and he's like, I'm fine. He's like, I mean, I'm kind of nauseous. And then he just called him a filthy priest out of nowhere, and then snapped out of it. He's like, did I say something?
Oh,
So these people, these underling, like, demons are still within them, so this is so not over. And I'm like, are you kidding me? I thought I was gonna have a little break.
Yeah.
So Showdown Part 2. Hwa Pyong is investigating his family house and dug in the same spot as Youngkwang, like he did before he found Park Ildo. I'm like, last time this happened, it did not end well. And found, like, a mummified body. Hello? Found a body. And a photo of what looked like young Hwa Pyong and Grandpa. And I'm like, what are you telling me right now?
Wait, of who and Grandpa?
Hwa Pyong.
Hwa Pyong and Grandpa.
Him himself. And I was like, what is that?
Yeah.
And so at this point, like, Grandpa's back at the house, but he's still, like, not there, you know?
Yeah.
Well, he goes back to the front of the house. Grandpa's just sitting in the front yard eating a little picnic. Like, nothing's happening.
Okay.
But he was previously, like, out for the count.
Like coma, right?
Yes. But now he's sitting up, eating. I'm like,
oh, that just gave me gross chills on my legs.
Got to be kidding me. So now this backstory. All those years ago, there was a man who was possessed in this village, and he attacked Grandpa. So that was maybe, like, that first initial contact. And then while he was dying, he was looking over at Hwa Pyong, but whenever we first initially saw that scene, we were so focused on Hwa Pyong, we didn't really, like, fully notice or, like, register that, like, Grandpa was holding him.
During the initial, like, exorcism.
Yes, when they were young. Yes. Yeah. Mm-hmm. And so Park Ildo basically told Grandpa, like, come with me or I'll take your grandson. And so Grandpa's like, well, whatever you say, stay away from Hwa Pyong. Like, what are you doing? And at this point, Park Ildo is within Grandpa. And he's in the backyard digging, I'm like, and touching this mummified face. I'm like, can we not with this mummy? And he heard Hwa Pyong's mom yelling for him. The initial, when he was, like, out by the sea, and she's, like, yelling for him. Mm-hmm. And so it wasn't Hwa Pyong who killed his mom. It was Grandpa.
Oh.
Yes. And then Grandma saw him burying up the little body, the mummy, and was like, what's that? He's like, my body. And so he killed Grandma and staged it.
Grandpa killed Grandma.
Yes.
And so he's okay.
So all this stuff that people were blaming Hwa Pyong for this entire time, it was Grandpa.
Oh. Yeah. Yeah. Oh my God.
And so, since Father Yang's father was Cholyung, this, like, originally possessed Park Ildo person, he just kind of felt like he had to follow him against his will almost, like, to get answers. Just kind of like, there's, like, a weird connection there. It was kind of giving Spawn of Satan vibes. Not really, but, you know. Yeah. So that's why he was so, like, not a high status, like, possessed thing, but that's why he had, like, such a prevalent,
like strong demon.
Yes. Mm-hmm. Whereas, like, these other people felt very, like, not low quality, whatever you mean.
Yeah. Lesser tier demons.
Yes.
Yeah.
So the whole idea was that Park Ildo wanted Hwa Pyong as a vessel because he's a medium and there's, like, there ain't nothing better than that. But he stayed inside Grandpa for all those years so that he could stay close with Hwa Pyong and break him down throughout the years by taking his mother, his grandmother, traumatizing him through the whole situation with Matthew's brother, her mom, and all these things. And, like, literally just, like, throughout his life, he's been, like, and, like, whenever he grew up.
Tormented by this freaking... What?
Grew up, and then now he's, like, having all these possessed people, like, and it's basically just, like, nonstop traumatizing him because
Yeah.
it'll break him down and be easier to enter him.
Right.
This whole time, that's all he's been doing. So showdown part 2. So Hwapyeong has plans. So he's like, okay, enter me. I'm fine. Like, what are you talking about? This is kind of part of my plan.
Right.
So yeah.
Right.
And Matthew rolls up to the party, but crickets, because Pyong's over here, like, carving ritual things all over his arms. So, like, he's already inside. Matthew's too late to that little game.
Uh-huh.
And he's, like, ready to do this ritual thing.
To trap him in.
Yes.
Yeah.
And then Matthew's trying to do his thing. He's like, no, you're gonna die. Like, let me do my thing. So, unfortunately, it's like kind of working, but at the same time, like, he's still being possessed. So, like, those are still that's still affecting him. And he's over here attacking Matthew. Like, leave him alone, but I know it's not your fault.
Right.
And so he snaps out of it for a second and, like, runs to the sea and tries to die, but it's not working. The demon's, like, literally not letting that happen. And so Kil-young sees him. So he's like, fine, I'll just drown. I'll just, like, go out into the sea. Kil-young sees him, doesn't really fully know what's happening yet because she didn't know that he was possessed. Like, she just, like, rolling up to the scene as well. Mm-hmm. And so she takes him to shore. He's attacking both of them. I'm like, these are your friends. Can you stop? And so, of course, Matthew is going to still try to do the exorcism. Literally doesn't care. His nose is, like, literally bleeding. And he's, like, spitting up blood as he's doing so.
Yeah.
And Park Do, like, he seems like he's getting quiet and then he just starts laughing.
Oh, God.
And I'm like, you have to stop. You have to be kidding me. This man says, me pretend like this is going to be more dramatic. It makes me so mad. He said, you can use that name all you want. He's like, I was here before that man ever set foot on this island. Before Park Do, I was Kim Sadaham, I was Sunmyo, etc., etc. Like, he was listing all these names. And, like, one thing for, like, all these, like, possession shows and, like, movies, you have to know the demon's real name in order to actually perform an exorcism.
Right.
So Park Do is not that demon's real name.
Oh my God.
So, like, what are they supposed to do?
You literally, there's
he
no
literally,
way.
that means he literally cannot exorcise him.
Yeah.
It makes me so mad.
Creepy.
So Kil-young is, like, really just trying to get Hwapyeong to his senses at least a little bit, and he snaps out of it for a second, and he ends up stabbing himself, and just, like, as he's doing that, he's, like, thanking them for everything. Aww. And so he's like, I need to do this to, like, get rid of this, like, this is too much trouble. And I was, like, just sobbing at this point. And so he's, like, dying and, like, sinking down into the sea. Here comes Matthew, dove down, just literally searching for him in the water. Like,
no.
It's like the saddest thing ever. And he went down and grabbed him and continued to perform an exorcism, like, just trying so desperately, like, so hard. And, like, blood starts coming out of his mouth in the end again. He's, like, literally going out of consciousness, like, I'm sorry, are we having 2 people die right now? Like, I can't do this. And at that point, though, he was already too late because Hwapyeong had already, like, requested Ildo to stay within him. And he, like, grabs Matthew's, like, hand and, like, takes the rosary from him just to kind of, like, have that last piece of him before he dies. And then, like, pushes Matthew away and, like, pushes him towards the surface to save him. Aww. And so Kil-young grabs him. And they are just, like, yelling his name into the ocean. It is, like, the saddest thing ever. Like, I was sobbing.
Oh, this is the video you showed me.
I showed you the video of, like, them yelling his name into the sea and me, like, crying.
Yeah.
Because I was just an emotional wreck. Like, just so much was happening. At this point, like, I have gone through emotional whiplash with, like, who was gonna die, what was going on, like, all these things.
Who's connected to who, who has what demon,
it
finds out that it's all pointless.
Exactly.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And so he's dead, and we go to 1 year later, and I'm like, I swear to God, if anything starts up again, I'm gonna die. So
we got 10 minutes.
Oh, Hongju, you remember her, the assembly woman? She becomes a party leader, so she's, like, just getting higher and higher in position. And we will never do anything. We will never do anything about that. Yep, and that's just life, apparently.
Right.
And again, an evil woman till the end because she was laughing about her father's death. I hate this woman.
Yeah.
Horrible. And so since it's been a year later, Matthew and Kil-young meet up and they're, like, just, like, kind of doing, like, an offering thing for Hwapyeong and, like, meeting up and doing this thing. And they got, like, beef because he likes beef. So they, like, doing a little thing for him. And, like, Grandpa, he survived this because he, like, the demon left him finally, you know. And so he's, like, good now. He's, like, healing. But he's still kind of, like, out of it because he's just, like, an old man.
Yeah.
And he's doing well, but they're like, oh, like, what's going on here? Like, and apparently, like, through this year, like, a lot of people in the community have just been giving him, like, donations and stuff, like, whether it's, like, clothing or just, like, food and stuff for him to, like, have since, like, now he's alone. He doesn't have any of his family.
Yeah.
And Matthew went up to one of the guys. He's like, did you like give grandpa food? Like, have you been giving him food? He's like, yeah, somebody asked me to do this. Like, somebody asked me like around this time last year. He's like, I was out on my boat and there's this guy and I pulled him from the sea, and ever since he's been living by himself.
Ooh, what?
Yeah. And he's like, when I asked him why he didn't go home, he's like, I needed to be sure. So they're like, they're like, hold on. Did Hwa Pyong survive? Like, did he survive this? And so they go and find this house, and sure enough, he comes outside with his little blind eye, because he stabbed himself in the eye.
Yeah.
He has his little scars from the ritual, and he's wearing Matthew's rosary around his neck. He's been there the whole time just making sure everything was okay, and that nothing else bad was happening, and that Park Hyo-do was finally gone. And that's the end.
Oh my gosh, I can't believe he was still alive.
I
the
tell
amount
you,
of chills that
the
just went down my legs. And,
whiplash, because I was like, oh my gosh, I was like, Hwa Pyong's gonna die. No, Matthew. No, Hwa Pyong. Matthew. Hwa Pyong. Maybe Kil Young, because they were. He was attacking Kil Young as well, and I'm like, oh my god, both. Just Hwa Pyong, and now he's alive. We got all three in the I don't know how this happened. I do, because I watched this show. But I'm just like, I was so in awe. Like, I was genuinely not expecting that.
Yeah.
And then the ending credits for this show was so cute. Again, I don't watch like that many dramas, especially to the end. Mm-hmm. So I don't really know if there's like a standard for ending credits. That makes sense, like the very, very end. So in this one, like, they did a lot of behind the scenes clips.
Oh, cool.
So as the credits were rolling, that was playing. And it was like really nice because, you know, it's a dark show, yet like seeing the behind the scenes, it's like so like a lot more lighthearted. And at the very end, they had a little message like from the creators or directors. They're like, thank you to the viewers who watched this dark and scary story. Despite all the sleepless nights with the guests, we wanted to see things from the perspective that all evil starts in the heart of man. Just as you nicknamed Yoon Hwa Pyong, Yoon Peace, we hope you always find comfort. I'm like, how cute.
That's cute.
I love this show so much. Like,
it sounds amazing. Yeah.
I feel like I did a bad job in describing things. I was kind of like jumpy a bit and like probably missed some things that like needed to be said. And like, I don't know if this is easy to follow for people listening, but I hope so.
I have not.
At least enough.
Yeah, heads up to the listeners. I have not seen this show either. This is my first time. I heard a little bit of it, like when you were first starting to watch it.
Yeah, I think when I first started, told you about like maybe like the first 2 episodes or something.
But that was my first time listening all the way through too, and I feel like I was able to follow it. So if I can follow it, hopefully everyone else is.
Yeah.
And like, of course there's details to it that add to the emotions and stuff, you know, but it's amazing.
And I'm just like, ever since I finished this, now I'm like in a little K-drama mood for once, and I want to watch everything.
Yes. I go through moods too where I'm like, okay, binge time.
But maybe if we do more in the future, we'll have like a better, I don't know, outline of how we want to do this. We even mentioned like it would be freaking hilarious if like I watched an episode, gave you a recap, you watched the next episode, gave me a recap.
It's like the telephone game of recapping a series. Yeah.
I don't know. We'll see what we'll end up doing, but
yeah. I mean, and I've said this to you before. I love the way that you storytell, just because it's so like you feel everything you're saying, you know. So I absolutely love hearing it, regardless.
But yeah, that's my little favorite drama. But I'm sorry if you're trying to watch it. I don't know where you can watch it because it left Netflix on November 30th. Oh, but like I don't know if they put it somewhere else yet, but
probably.
I feel like they will. I mean, why shouldn't they?
It sounds incredible, so they better. But what a fun birthday episode. I love that.
Just kind of a birthday ramble about some things.
That's the best way to spend a birthday, honestly. I mean, that's the whole, this entire podcast is just us rambling about stuff. But yeah. It's fun to have like a little personalized. And I do wish you a very happy birthday. I hope you have so much fun. Yes. And we will see you in the next episode. Let's end this. Before we go, we are going to do our song of the moment. This week it is going to be
War Cry by Anteam. Every second I get reminded of this, I'm at peace. This is the best thing ever. I'm so sorry.
It's like an amazing song, first of all, amazing music video, and then
the choreo.
The choreo, yes. And then it's so lore heavy, which I know you are very, very into. So yeah, everything about this, incredible. It makes me so excited to hear more from them as well. Like, Oh, I'm just excited. They're doing great. If you want to shout out your favorite song for the Song of the Moment, as well as participate in more of our podcast segments, you can join us over on Patreon. As always, you can find us on Twitter, TikTok, and YouTube at The Lunapod, and on Instagram at The Luna Podcast for up-to-date information on episode releases and behind-the-scenes fun. We post all sorts of content, so definitely make sure to follow us and check that out. Thank you so much for tuning in, and we'll see you next week. Bye! What's the Hwapyeong? That's so sad. Like, literally, I felt like I was going through the emotions of it, like, with you. That's crazy.
Gosh, now I need to find that video again.
For real. Also, I feel like we need to turn on birthday by 10 to celebrate your birthday, and then also just make your whole record situation even worse because 10's singing to you.
Oh, yeah.